Oh, I have my new microphone on. Look, see, this is where it's supposed to be, but it's really here.
How come when I put on a microphone, look, okay, I put on my headset and it makes my hair go out and look more fluffy. You put yours on and it makes it look flatter. You look like you're one of those gnomes.
I flatten it out before I put the headset on. Hello, everyone. I'm David Walsh.
And I'm Alice K. Ruckelhaus from
We're
SufferingWell.
both from SufferingWell.
Yeah.
And
And
the How
how,
Initiative.
yes, Heal Our World Initiative. So today we wanted to tell you about our book, which should appear right here. Um, it's not published yet, so I don't have a copy I can show, but we'll put up a picture. It's called Whispers Around the World. And so we're almost finished with it. We're recording this a week before How starts. So we are like down to the wire. The nice thing about Amazon is we can get it up there pretty quickly. So hopefully we'll have it up there by the 1st or sometime soon after that.
Yep, we're both working on it. Alice K is the author, and I'm the what am I, the beta reader?
Yeah, you're a beta reader. My mom's going to be a beta reader too. So David's the Catholic beta reader. My mom is the Protestant beta reader. And I'm kind of in between.
What does that mean?
I was Protestant until about 3.5 years ago. And so I spent 60 years as a Protestant. My degree, my college degree, my bachelor's is actually in religious studies with an emphasis in theology and Greek. So I probably, even though I'm a Catholic now, I probably know more about Protestant theology than I do about Catholic theology. But I have worked to learn a lot about it. So I feel pretty comfortable writing about both Protestants and Catholics in this book. But this book is a mixture of Catholics and Protestants. David, do you want to talk about what it is, what this book is about?
Okay, the main character starts a How prayer group and getting everybody to pick a country, explaining to them, and different people come who are interested, and then they talk about it to other people. It spreads, and the really beautiful thing I think about the book is, okay, it's really nice to pray for someone else besides ourselves. Many people only pray when they're in trouble or they need something, or they'll pray for their family. But now to learn about what's going on in these other countries, and some countries may be wealthy countries, but there's quite a diversity of countries selected by the characters in the book, and some of them have economic problems. They have a lot of issues, and they start to feel for these people they never ever considered before. And then you see, as they do that, and they all share what they're learning about these countries together in the meetings, and their compassion just grows in every direction. And then they're seeing people in the neighborhood who may need help, who they never maybe gave a second thought to. And it just, you see a blossoming of love, which is really, that's what Jesus was trying to do. Jesus was trying to make everybody realize that this is the most important thing, right? He boiled the 10 Commandments down to just 2: love.
Yeah.
So,
And so even though, they're praying for these people in another country, it changes their lives, their
yeah.
own lives, which is really what we want to see through How, because Second Chronicles 7:14 that we're talking about talks about how we have to humble ourselves and turn from our wicked ways. It's all about us changing, not just praying that other people change. And they also, as they learn about their chosen countries, they learn about needs in those countries and they start praying for those things. And then they start seeing answers to those prayers in the news and stuff. And so
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
pretty
yeah,
cool.
that's fun.
Yeah, that's really neat. And
Hopefully
then,
that will really happen
oh
because you
yeah,
have a
I'm
little more
sure it will.
control of that
Yeah,
in your
no, but I'm
story.
sure it will happen. And then there will also be like one of the characters who's praying for Mongolia. He doesn't know about some of the answers to prayer that are praying that are happening there. And we see those happen in the book. But sometimes, probably most of the things that we pray, we won't know until we're in heaven. Can you imagine going to heaven and Jesus saying, "Here, I want you to meet these people. You were praying for them in this other country. You never met them."
And they
And
got there ahead of you and they were praying for you while they were up
yeah,
here.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. And I just think that's really cool. I've done that throughout my life. I've prayed for people. I don't know. I've just said, God, can you find me a girl in Russia that I can pray for? When I was in school, I did
Well,
that.
one of the characters, at least one, did that, right? They adopted sort of, a child through one of those
Yes.
organizations.
Yeah. So he actually knew of the child. When I was praying for a girl in Russia, I just asked God to choose a girl for me in Russia to
Oh,
pray for. I didn't know her name or anything. I prayed for her until I was in
but you
college.
also have a child that you sponsor,
I have a
right?
child I sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this book, one of the men does start sponsoring a child because he's learned compassion and he's learned the needs of that country. So he asks for a child to sponsor in that country. That's pretty
And then
cool.
the people end up working together on projects because they find common interests.
Hmm.
And even though like two of them, one of them is traveling the world and another one is pretty much settled into the community. Is he in the trailer park too? I don't think he's in the
I'm
trailer
not sure
park.
who you're talking about.
Ken.
Ken, yes, he's in the trailer park.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they're making plans.
Don't
And
tell about what it is though. Let people be
no, no,
surprised.
no, but they find a common interest.
Yeah.
And so they start talking about that. And then they come up with this really neat idea. But the thing about you talking about humility, and I this is probably everybody's heard this definition of humility, but I think it really rings true. And I'm going to go a little beyond that here. But humility is not thinking less of oneself. It's thinking of oneself less. And
Right.
what happens as these people are working together, the project becomes a character in itself, and people are all thinking of the project more than they're thinking of their own needs, and
Right.
they're stretching themselves, and they're thinking about, as I said, they have compassion for these people in these other countries. Then they have compassion for the people in their communities, and they go beyond the communities in a really neat thing too. That I don't know if you want to talk about
No.
that, but okay, but the idea of the growth of compassion in a person automatically humbles you because you're thinking of
Mm.
yourself less.
Right. Yeah.
And
You're thinking of
you don't have
others.
to be conscious of it. It's just the more compassionate you become, the more people that you can see what's going on in their lives, you automatically think of yourself less.
Hmm.
So you
Hmm.
don't have to make a concentrated effort to do it. And that's
Yeah.
part of the beauty of this whole thing. And this is what God in Second Chronicles is saying we need to do is to be humble. But this is how Jesus was humble. Jesus wasn't saying, "Well, I'll be humble this morning." He just was because he had compassion for everyone and
Right.
put himself last.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, and the reason that we have a novel, I mean, because it's like, okay, so why did you guys write a novel to go with this? Because it's easier for you to get into those characters' heads and to understand what they're thinking about and see them as like examples, like maybe you know them in a way, than it is if we just say, do this, do this, do this, do this. It's really cool for you to be able to experience that through the characters in this. And of course, your experience is going to be different from the characters in this book, but it'll give you some ideas of things you could do and how to do it. And if you're kind of wondering, well, how do I do this? Here's some ideas for it.
Right. And you can take those ideas and just adjust them,
Right.
or you can do it differently. They're just seeds.
Right. Yeah. 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 So
Hmm.
that's pretty cool. So that's all. Let's just talk about that today. And then we'll share more throughout the year of some of the things in the book and what we're hoping that you'll get from that. But there's one more thing that I do want to say is at the end, I'm going to ask you a question. So I'm going to ask it to you right now so that as you're reading, you can be thinking about this. But at the end, I'm going to say, which one of these characters would you like to see us write about next? Because they each have a story that's developing, and you might want to see how that develops, what happens with this person. So keep that in mind. We're going to let you have some input into what the next book about these characters is going to be.
Okay, one other thing I want to add,
Yep.
if you don't mind.
Yeah.
We are characters in the book because Alice Kay and David and SufferingWell, they're alluded to from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things in the area of compassion that that's coming out, and some of these characters have had experience with the SufferingWell channel.
Mm-hmm.
They are incorporating offering their sufferings up and
Yes.
using their sufferings. And so for people who are in SufferingWell, who've come to SufferingWell because they're interested in that, that plays a good part in this story too. And it again shows you a natural progression of when you don't think about yourself as much, and when you take the idea of things that might normally be considered negative and try to turn them into a positive. That's what SufferingWell is about. So there is a good amount of information about that too.
Right.
That's part of this whole thing.
Yeah,
so,
you'll see these characters offering up their different kinds of suffering and how God can use that. And I really like that aspect.
And it may sound strange, but some of them call it, all right, I don't have any money. I don't have a family even. My wealth is in my ability to be able to offer these things up for others.
Yeah.
That's my wealth.
Yeah, and I think that will inspire some of you who are suffering. It'll help you to see that that's actually a gift. It really is. And we say that having both experienced a lot of suffering. So we know what we're talking about, guys. Okay. We love you all, and we will talk to you again next time. We'll be talking more about the book. We'll be talking more about what's going on with How, and we're really excited about all of this.
Yes, we
you'll
are.
Join us.
Bye-bye.
We love you.
Bye. God bless.
I'm going to have the thing where I say, you look like a gnome.
A gnome?
Or one of those like...
Gnomes wear funny little hats?
The old man in the tree kind of thing.